I'm Scardamalia. I'm a licensed specialist in school psychology, and this is my story. Being Italian was very much a way of life growing up. My mother, kind of has maybe a little bit of Italian. She's mostly German and Dutch. We never really acknowledged that. We were always Italian. That's what we were. And for them, that was not between them, but between the families. That was an issue when they were first married. The fact that my mother was not Italian, that wasn't something you did. You didn't marry outside of the Italian neighborhood. There was some economic differences between how they grew up. My mom's family was more well off than my father's family, and I remember there being a lot of discussion about that. Maybe she was too privileged or wouldn't appreciate things, and he was just kind of wrong side of the tracks, and so there was some discord there between them, between the families. And I think those were things that they had to deal with. And my aunt tells this joke, and it was a joke that included the N-word and was pretty ugly and abrasive, and that was the first time I had ever heard that out loud from a person before. My dad, very calmly, because my dad's just not somebody to yell or scream, he'll make his point. He just got up and he pulled my aunt aside to where we could still hear it, but to the side of the room, and just let her know, we don't use that sort of language in my household. My children are not exposed to that. My children will not be exposed to that. And if you insist on using that type of language around my children, you won't see them anymore. It was definitely my first experience seeing that live and in person, and this realization that, wow, people do that. People who are my family do that. And then right on the heels of it, the second hugely impactful experience of, and when that happens, here's what you do about it. There was a chapter on, I don't remember the chapter title, but it talked about white culture and conversation styles that define white culture. And one of the things was to be very data-driven and very goal-oriented and very unemotional and problem-solving. And I saw myself all the way through that chapter, beginning to end. And from there on, the changes for me have been to really define myself as white, which is not something I necessarily did before, to begin to really accept the broader impact of that. One of the things I started to do was, with a lot of my kids, when we were in evaluation, I just asked them, I need to fill out an ethnicity for you. What do you prefer I write? How would you define yourself? In the original circle, it's just a blank space with black dots in the middle of it. And the idea behind the visual is there's actually a representation of a room full of white people with a few black people. And when the white people are not outlined, the black dots really, really stand out. And in the second picture, you see the outline, and so you see all the white dots and you see the black dots. I think that same presence is there when you walk into a school that is mostly minority students and you have a mostly white staff. Even though they're not standing all in a room, in a line, collectively in a cafeteria, it doesn't matter. You walk down the hallway and you look in this classroom and that classroom or that office, and what you see is mostly white people. And while each of those teachers there, or each of those administrators, are very unlikely to define themselves as part of that group, one of the things that really, I feel like the understanding I gained this year was that for a person of color walking into that school, they do define you as a group. If you can tell their story in a way that helps others, parents and teachers, understand where the breakdown is, why they're struggling in school, then you can build some tolerance and some compassion. And once you do that, people will go the extra mile to help a child out.
Take action. In your sphere of influence, be a voice for others by first taking the time to understand their story.